Well, so cool to be able to do this as the Mariners wait to see their playoff opponent. The first couple days of the postseason, the wild card round, I think have been incredible, Brock. I've really enjoyed just sitting in front of the TV watching baseball nonstop. Jeff Passan's been doing it from the studios in Bristol, and he joins us right now for a rare Thursday appearance. Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you?
I am great, gentlemen. How are you?
You should be, man. I think this has been a phenomenal start to the playoffs, right?
Well, it's been so good. There's just a lot of really good baseball being played right now, and especially a lot of good pitching. Like the pitching that first day, you can isolate it to starters. You can isolate it to left-handers. I mean, that day we had Tarek Skubal, 7 2/3, 14 strikeouts. Max Fried, 6 1/3 shutout. Blake Snell, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. Garrett Crochet, 7 2/3, 11 strikeouts, no walks. Like, I'm sorry, the starting pitcher's not bad. And you see something like that, and it's like, oh, so maybe the Mariners' strength can still be a strength in October. Maybe starting pitching can still exist this month.
Can you take me behind the scenes in Salky? What's going on? How are you guys watching this? Remember back in the day, Salky did like radio, and I think didn't you walk in the NFL countdown room?
I was doing Countdown to Kickoff with Michael Smith leading up, which was the pregame show, and so afterwards we'd go watch in the NFL War Room, which was insane. Chris Berman and TJ and Mort just holding court. It was so cool. Is that what it's like for you guys?
Yes, it's me. Kevin Connors is our host. Xavier Scruggs, former big leaguer, one of the analysts, and Hunter Pence is in this week. And what I've learned about Hunter Pence this week is that man likes coffee. Like, there were a couple of times, because the first day, they're long days. We're getting in, on the days with 4 games, we're getting in at like 10. And we're not leaving until we're getting in at like 10 a.m., not leaving until 1:15 or so. So it's I mean, we can whistle and say, we're watching baseball. So it's not exactly like we're doing hard labor here. But every couple hours, Hunter was like, I need a coffee. I need the energy. I need to keep going. And so I just brought a literal box of Dunkin' Donuts coffee to the office yesterday, and felt like I was being a good teammate.
And it's not like he played in the old caffeinated coffee, the old leaded coffee era of baseball, right? So that's real coffee, right?
Yes, that is real coffee, but let's not discount the leaded coffee. For those who don't understand that, there used to be 2 pots of coffee in big league clubhouses. One of them labeled in one way or another leaded and the other unleaded. The unleaded was caffeinated coffee, not decaf, and the leaded was loaded with amphetamines, which for a long time in baseball was just completely acceptable and standard operating procedure. So yeah, that is not an exaggeration. That is literally what it used to be.
And we can explain to Lyle that leaded and unleaded is how you used to have to ask for your gas if you want to go back even farther to where the reference comes from. All right, so Jeff, we've been watching obviously with not just one eye but multiple eyes on this Cleveland-Detroit series. So let's start there. What have you learned about those two teams and how they could match up against the Mariners in round 2?
I don't want to be the person who necessarily says that the Seattle Mariners are going to run through both of these teams, right? That has absolutely, though, been the feeling that I'm getting, that the Mariners are just better, and that the Guardians and Tigers are essentially exhausting themselves and their bullpens just to try and get to the next round. And you can say the same for the Yankees and the Red Sox. Even the Dodgers, they've gotten 7 innings from Blake Snell and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, so it's not like their bullpen is taxed. But they had to throw a lot of pitchers in the 8th and 9th innings because we're not sure if anyone in the bullpen is really all that good. So as much as I think that there is a benefit to playing in the wild card round and getting into October and going into that next series, pushed by the momentum of having won one already, and going against, on top of that, guys who've just been sitting around. And regardless of whatever inner squad we play, I'm sorry, but that does not come close to replicating what a playoff game is like. So the teams that have the bye are coming in cold. But I personally think that whatever disadvantage you have from sitting for those days, you gain advantage, A, by resting, and B, by your opponent going out and exhausting themselves and putting themselves in a compromised position where, let's say it's Detroit, Tarek Skubal's not going to start until game 2. And that is a big advantage, I think, because the Tigers at that point are going to need to push it to game 5 in order for Skubal to go out a second time.
Mm-hmm. So just generally, historically speaking, Jeff, which team would you rather see? And because I think in this case, Detroit is the overall better roster. They've expressed that and expressed it for, I don't know, like 160 games, second half of last year and first 100 games of this year. I think that's a better roster, but Cleveland, the much hotter team. Just historically, if you're the Mariners, would you rather face the less talented but hotter team or the more talented but maybe not quite as hot a team?
I think hot matters more than talent in October. And that's weird for me to say because you guys know I've established, I think, pretty consistently on this show that I go for talent above all else. But in October, that goes out the window a little bit. I think the answer is I would rather go with the team I would rather face a team that's exhausted. And I think that the Guardians are probably going to be a little more exhausted, especially if you look at what their bullpen has to do. Their bullpen is their greatest strength. And if their pen is worn down, and it might be after the wild card series, you got to turn around for a day, fly across the entire country, and go face a team that is good at working counts and is good at getting at starting pitchers. And then you just chip away, and Stephen Vogt at that point is I think going to be scrambling. This entire October for the Guardians and the Tigers, however long it lasts, is going to be a scramble drill. And you can win that way. The chances are just significantly diminished to do so, I think.
So both of those two teams will have thrown their top 3 pitchers, and none of those 6 or 3 per team would be available for game 1 on Saturday. So depending on who wins today, who would the Mariners likely face in game 1 for Detroit or for Cleveland?
I mean, for Detroit, it's probably going to be Cater Montero. And for Cleveland, I would imagine it would be Joey Cantillo. And of those two, Cantillo's been awesome. And Montero's just been sort of workmanlike. So I think in terms of starting pitching, the Guardians definitely have the advantage there. The Tigers are just scrounging. I thought maybe Troy Melton, rookie, would get the nod, but Troy Melton's the one who gave up the home runs to Brian Rocchio, 2 doubles to Stephen Kwan and Daniel Schneemann, and another home run to Bo Naylor yesterday, and essentially blew the game for. I don't know if he gave up the Naylor home run, but he put the Tigers in position to lose yesterday. So I don't think Troy Melton's going to be the guy. But Montero's fine. The big thing is they would have Skubal back for 2, and then because of the way the schedule is, they would play Sunday, off Monday for travel, games Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday for travel, and then Skubal would be on full rest for game 5.
But in theory, let's say the Tigers come away victorious today. In theory, the Mariners could win in 4. Well, you could win a series without ever having to beat Skubal.
Yes, that is correct.
Right? I mean, because he can't start game 1 unless they really want him to go on short rest.
No, he's not. I can't imagine. I mean, Tarek Skubal is a bad mamma jamma. But he's also going to be a free agent after next season. And the notion of him going and starting on short rest in game 1 when he's lined up to go full rest twice in the series, I just think if this were a different schedule and whether because of off days or otherwise, he was lined up only once and that moving him up would allow him to pitch twice in the series, then yeah, I think that's something that they might consider. But the way it's lined up right now, I have a hard time believing that they're going to.
Especially because in order to make it work, everyone would have to move up, right? Like it's not just him. Otherwise, then you're starting. It just. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
It doesn't. I think, Mike, that wouldn't matter because Scooble's the guy who everyone else works around. He is the son of their universe.
When Jeff Passan tunes in to whoever the Mariners are going to play on Saturday, and you watch the Seattle Mariners in this American League Division Series at home as AL West champs for the first time in 25 years, what will Jeff Passan's eyes be watching for, Seattle specifically?
60 feet, 6 inches from the plate, who's standing on the pitcher's mound? Is it Brian Wu? And look, today's a big day, right? I mean, he's throwing today, and I think that's gonna suggest whether he's able not just to be on the roster, but to get the game 1 start, or if they postpone it and save him for game 3 and give him a couple extra days of rest. I think that to me is the burning question. But if I'm the Mariners right now, I feel pretty good going into this series. I feel like this is a roster that can win a World Series, and I'm not sure that there's anything that's going to, especially in the division series round, going to dissuade me from that. Once we get to the LCS, I think it's going to be a little different. Toronto, New York, and Boston, whoever among those 3 emerges from that, is going to be a much more talented team and a much more dangerous team and a much better lineup, at least in the case of the Yankees and Blue Jays. The Red Sox, not so much, but the Red Sox, I think I would take the Red Sox offense over Detroit's or Cleveland's, and I would frankly take the Yankees pitching and Toronto's pitching as well. Boston, to me, is the third of those 3 teams, but Toronto or New York is a real roadblock, and it's going to be a real series if the Mariners advance to the ALCS.
I'm trying to remember, you were out here in 22 for the extended inning game against the Astros. Were you out here for that playoff game?
I sure was.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was there for. What I remember coming out of that series, and especially at the World Series that year, is Astros players saying that the Mariners were the best team that they played. And looking at that Mariners team and this Mariners team, this one is so much better. Right?
There's no doubt roster-wise and how, especially since the trade deadline. Yeah, the only challenge to fully agreeing with that 100% is just that this pitching staff has not pitched as well as that one did. I think they still have the same level of talent, upside, all the rest, but they just haven't done it the way that one did. And that is, I was kind of writing about this yesterday. Like, you said the pitching's been great, the starting pitching isn't dead. You're right, except in the games where it is. Right? Like, it's just sort of been one or the other. Either the guys you mentioned go 7+, or Alex Cora is like, yeah, no, we're good after 2. Thanks, Brian Bayo. We'll see you later. Like
Mike Schultz is like, thanks, Dylan Cease. You've thrown us 3 2/3 shutout, but we like our relievers better.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I don't think the Mariners are going to have the luxury of. I think the back end of their bullpen is really, really good, and I think it is trustworthy. But there are elements to the postseason and relief usage now that I look at, and I'm like, I don't think that clubs use relievers the right way. I think that they expose them, and that as much as the third time through the order penalty exists for starting pitchers, and for those who don't know what that is, hitters' numbers spike dramatically when they face a starting pitcher for the third time, which is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, that you see starting pitchers yanked as early as you do now. San Diego can do that and can go and throw Adrian Morejon for 2 1/3 and Mason Miller for 1 2/3 of the nastiest stuff you're ever going to see. Like, Mason Miller yesterday was an absolute absurdity, and that was so much fun to watch. Like, dotting different corners of the zone, 103 up and into a right-hander, 104 down and away to a right-hander, which was one of the nastiest pitches I've ever seen. A slider up and in against a left-hander at 90 miles per hour and hitting the corner of the zone. I mean, it's not just the stuff. It's not just the velocity. It's Mason Miller's ability to put it somewhere. And so you go to him and then finish with Robert Suarez, and all of a sudden those 5 1/3 innings that were staring at you, the bullpen's just carved through. The Mariners don't have that. I think you're going to get Andres Munoz for an inning. I think you're going to get Matt Brash for an inning. I think you're going to get Gabe Spire, maybe Edward Bizardo. Like they're good, and I enjoy watching Carlos Vargas pitch. Like the Mariners have some arms, but I would not look at the bullpen and say that is a distinct strength of theirs.
Yeah, I would agree. Just I don't enjoy watching Vargas. It's too wild a ride. So the stuff is great. Oh,
it is. The stuff is so good though, man. And maybe this is more like we're gonna really appreciate Carlos Vargas in 2027 or 28 when he's had a couple years under his belt and the stuff is playing. So he's pushed himself into a leverage role, but I just see how good it can be, and it's like that's what you need. The difference, Brock, between teams that win the World Series for me and teams that don't, it's one of two things. Either your superstar has a out of his mind series, or those coin flip guys end up on the side that you called. And I feel like Carlos Vargas is a coin flip guy where if he's in 4 or 5 outings this postseason and you get 3 or 4 good ones out of that, then that, you stack those on top of each other, and that's how a World Series is won.
Well, this is so much stinking fun talking playoff baseball and all of the machinations and everything that goes with it. But I do have to ask, if you were to, and you sit there and you banter with the folks in ESPN land and folks in baseball, if you were to say right now, Jeffrey, a better, more likely chance of happening, Cal Raleigh wins the MVP, Dan Wilson wins Manager of the Year.
Cal Raleigh wins MVP.
Mm-hmm. You feel the momentum for that? It feels like it's shifted back and forth and back and forth. The narratives have gone back and forth, and even the odds, I think, in Vegas have gone a little bit back and forth. The votes are all in now, right? These voters don't get to vote based on the playoff competition, or the votes all in?
That is correct.
Votes are in, and as you sit here today, what's your gut say? I saw your sound. I think I saw sound of you saying over the last week that you would. It's really tight and it's impossible, and you'd love a co-MVP. But ultimately, some of the sound I heard was at least still leaning Judge. Do you think in the end that's ultimately what happens?
I think Judge hit like 400 and slugged 900 and had more home runs than anyone over the last month. And Cal did some great things, but I think the momentum. Numbers-wise is on Judge's side. The momentum narrative-wise is still with Cal, and I have no idea how this one is going to turn out. I do think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be like 23-7 in terms of first-place votes. I think it'll be, 16, 14, 17, 13, 18, 12, maybe 15, 15, and you get co-MVPs. But a lot of people, I think, have made very compelling cases on both sides. And to me, there's no wrong here. Because every time I look at it, and I have said Judge as much because I think it's important to be consistent. And I always ask myself, can I back up my beliefs in the game, my worldview of the game? Can I argue for it, and can I do so in a manner that's consistent? And I feel like me backing Aaron Judge goes back to Mike Trout versus Miguel Cabrera. The year that Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown, I thought Mike Trout was the better player, and I still think Mike Trout was the better player. And I look at the candidacies very similarly here. Cal Raleigh's doing something absolutely incredible. Hitting 60 home runs, period, is awesome. Doing so when playing catcher, even better. Doing so when playing catcher and not resting, mind-blowing. as good of a season as Cal Raleigh is capable of producing. But maybe sometimes you just run into guys whose ceilings are a little bit higher. And
you could argue that the other way, Jeff. I mean, I assume in this analogy you have Miguel Cabrera as Cal doing something unique and cool. But you could make the argument the other way of like, yeah, Miguel Cabrera had the stats, but what Mike Trout was doing was just flat out more valuable. And you could make that same argument the other way for Cal over Judge.
Can you go ahead and do that? Because I don't get what you're trying to say.
Well,
because if we're doing Mike, if we're doing this as a stats-based argument, right?
Okay, well, let's not get mad. Easy.
Calm down.
Mike, if we're doing this as a stats-based argument, please, by all means, convince me that Cal Raleigh's stats are better than Aaron Judge's.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to try. No, I would say
Judge
is the guy with the stats.
You can't.
I'm not.
You can.
I get it. I know. I'm saying Judge would be the stats
guy.
Okay,
then you trying to say that that Cal Raleigh can be Mike Trout in this situation is just it's not
just
right.
That he'd be flat out more valuable, even if the stats didn't show it. That he was more valuable to his team.
No, but the whole argument is that value of the team is derived from numbers.
I see what you mean. Overall numbers. Okay, yeah, all right, I get that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go. Let's be dorks for a minute.
All right,
jeez, yeah.
Are we ready to talk now?
Whoa, all right.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry to those whose speakers.
That's what happens when you're. That's what happens when you're in the back. Hey, you're in the Northeast. You get to the Northeast. I get it.
How much of that leaded coffee have you been drinking over there, Jeffrey?
You know what? I actually don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
I wish that I like coffee. I want to like coffee. I'm the guy who, if someone says, "Do you want to go get a coffee?" I will, and I will sit through that coffee, begrudgingly thinking to myself, "Why am I drinking this? But do I really like this person enough to be pouring this stuff down my gullet?" And it's kind of embarrassing because I pride myself on having a pretty good refined palate. And I like coffee and cooking more than I do.
It's the playoffs.
As
Nobody wants to
drink.
hear about your coffee. We got 1 minute left. We need information here quickly. Let's say Brian Wu is the game 3 starter. Let's say it goes in that direction. What would you do in games 1, 2, and 4 if you are Dan Wilson?
Here's the thing: if you roast the beans like extra dark, I would go Logan Gilbert game 1, Luis Castillo game 2, George Kirby game 4.
Okay, and then what have other teams done? We've been sort of debating a little bit. They can go with 13 pitchers, 13 position players, or for a short series like this, is it beneficial for them to take a 14th hitter, maybe even Harry Ford, to give him that opportunity to pinch hit for Garver late in the game against a lefty?
Yeah, you could do that, or do you bring on like Samad Taylor as a pinch runner? Mm-hmm. Like they have different options. I think 14-12 is the way to go.
All right. That's kind of what I was thinking, but Lyle and I were getting into it. So, all right, good. Well, Jeff, as usual, we see things, sometimes similarly and sometimes very differently. So it's there's a lot of anger built up in you.
Mike.
Have you been yelling and fighting with Hunter Pence?
There was just no anger there at all. I guess I don't know how to calibrate my voice properly sometimes. So I will be Mr. Rogers next time I come on.
That's
if you
good.
like. I'll even dress up in a cardigan.
Wow.
I'll go.
All right.
I'll go full method for you.
Brock will be King Friday, and I'll be. What's the woman with the big nose who would help you on the way into Neverland? I forget her name, but we'll see if I can pull that off. All right. Goodbye, Jeff. Thank you. Seriously, we appreciate it on what has been just a really crazy couple of days and an awesome start to the postseason. This weekend's going to be crazy here, and we're looking forward to it. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Wish I were there. Hope to see you guys in the ALCS.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. There you go. There's Jeff Passan